high knees, high knees,
Bench
high
press,
knees,
bench press.
burpees. I'm not doing burpees for real, y'all. I'm just looking like I'm doing burpees. What's going on, everyone? Khalil and AJ here with Marriage Inside Out, where we provide content to enrich, inspire, and edify your marriage and relationship. If this is your first time visiting our channel, we encourage you to subscribe and also go ahead and check out a lot of the other videos that we have in our collection. All right, so it's the beginning of the year.
Yes.
A lot of New Year's resolutions being made. A lot of people, may have various goals, some striving maybe to improve in their health and fitness journey.
Right.
Maybe you're trying to eat a little bit better. We know that that is very popular right now, but what do you do when you have two people, but maybe one of you is a little bit more serious or a little bit more motivated, let's say, about their health goals, and let's say the other person isn't quite as motivated at the time? How do you support your spouse, the one that's maybe not as motivated? How do you support them in their personal health journey?
Right. Without nagging.
Without nagging.
That's key. Right?
No nagging.
Because it's so easy to just turn into this back and forth. It builds up resentment, and no one wants to go there, right? So if you're there, these 4 tips that we're going to share will hopefully help you shift the tide in your marriage and really be empowered on that health and fitness journey. All right, so let's get started. The first tip is to humble your expectations, right? So we don't want to force something on our significant other, like buying them a gym membership, right? Or asking them to, go out and run a 5K with you when they're not even close.
Think of me being like, hey, baby, I got you this gym membership for Christmas.
Yes, exactly. No. Just because you're at a certain stage of your health and fitness journey doesn't mean you should force it on them. So by approaching it in humility, asking questions and learning one another better, you'll definitely be able to start on a more firm foundation.
Exactly, and we actually made a video talking about expectations. We're putting the link in the cards right now if you want to check it out. But in that, we talked about 3 ways in which we can have these unrealistic expectations of one another. The first is by comparing your spouse to someone else.
Yeah.
The second could be comparing your spouse to a former version of themselves.
Yeah.
So if you're, wondering why isn't it that they look like, they did when they were in college, let's just say we all grow, we all change over time, and then the third could be comparing your spouse to yourself. And, they need to be a little bit more like me. I'm working out, they need to work out a little bit more too like me.
Right.
We got to watch out, make sure that we're not thinking more highly of ourselves in that regard.
Right, exactly. You got to take a step back, humble yourself, and then set realistic expectations for how you can walk alongside with your spouse.
And the second is to be positive and encouraging. There's nothing like just starting off with a simple foundation of gratefulness, right? Sometimes we think automatically about what you want your spouse to be in regards to their health, but even just taking stock in who they already are. Don't forget about just the simple compliments of one another, like, hey baby, you're beautiful, you are amazing, so on and so forth. That really might even help to provide the confidence boost that maybe they've been needing or been desiring, so that they can be more motivated to take those steps. And then also to be encouraging if you do see them making a small step. Maybe you see them, maybe they're eating a little bit, few more vegetables. Maybe you see your husband, not reaching for the chips as much, or maybe you see him, doing a little workout. Like even just that little encouragement of, hey, I see you, like keep doing what you're doing. That's awesome. Encouragement can take you so much farther than criticism does.
Oh, for sure. That positive reinforcement is huge. And I think you know better than anyone what your spouse's love languages are. To some, all that verbal affirmation might actually not be encouraging.
That's true.
It might make them feel like, wait, why are you like lording over me and constantly telling me all of these things? They just want to be served more, right? So it's important that when you're sharing that positive encouragement, that you're leaning into whatever love language your spouse has. And that's based off the 5 love languages, that we've discussed in previous videos as well.
Do you reject my compliments?
No.
I'm just making.
I love compliments.
I'm just making sure. I want to speak in your language that you desire to be encouraged in.
Right, no, I appreciate it. And the third tip is to be an example. Well, sometimes the best thing you can do is just be that change you actually want to see in others. And by leading by example, you'll in turn empower them, right, over time to hopefully notice something in themselves that they want to adjust in order to keep growing with you. So
yeah, and we've kind of experienced this to some extent within our marriage. I mean, thankfully, we both value health and fitness and nutrition, yet y'all, my wife has not always eaten the way that she eats now. My wife used to think that green beans only came out of a can.
It's true.
I'm just saying.
It's so embarrassing.
Hey, we gotta be real, you
Yeah.
know, we gotta be real. But one of the things that I had to learn early on was that I can't just be, feeding you tomatoes and all of that, like
Yeah.
off the bat. I had to realize that you were growing at your pace.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, she likes tomatoes more than I do.
Yes.
Pretty much. She'll eat red bell peppers like they're chips.
So good.
And I be wondering where they go.
Yeah.
But no, it is really a testament as to just your growth that has happened over time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate that. But to go back to being the example as well, right? That was because of your example and your willingness to be patient with me, but also to lead well, to introduce those new, you guys, I hated onions, I hated dressing, I hated a lot of things. And hate, I know is a very strong word, so I'm gonna take that word out. But to be able to not feel forced, but to see someone else and the benefits of what that lifestyle is doing in their life, and it compels me every day to do a little better, so.
And then that brings us to our final point, which is to be patient. I mean, y'all, even though in marriage, we're two people joining together as one, you are still two individual people. Know that your spouse is who they are, and you both grow in different ways.
And at different paces.
And at different paces. And you have to understand and remember that no change, whether it be in health, whether it be in, whatever it is, financial management, whatever it is, it doesn't happen overnight. And so giving your spouse, your significant other, the time and the space to grow is really key.
Right, we say it all the time. You are in it for the long game. We're in it for the long game. So as other obstacles, other things come, as kids come into the picture, as career changes happen, whatever that looks like for you and your household, you have to just create that environment where you're willing to keep enduring. That's why it's so important for you to just be patient.
Exactly. And then remembering that, just like you said before, the journey is better when you're both going through it together. And so the more that you can see this, not just as, your spouse's health journey, but more so as the journey of your relationship and your marriage, I think then that can make it easier and a little bit more rewarding. So the more you can, for example, find an event or an activity that you can both do together. And then that in and of itself, you just knocked out two things in one. You've both prioritized your fitness in that, and you both spent time together.
Yeah.
So just remembering that the journey is best when you're both in it together.
Exactly.
All right, so now what we want to know from you all is, in your household or in your relationship, which one of you would you say is a little bit more motivated when it comes to prioritizing their health and their physical fitness? Is it you? Is it more so your spouse? Or are you both, very motivated within that? And if you have any stories in terms of how you've been able to support your spouse, we would love to know in the comments below.
Yeah. And if you got value out of this content, we would love for you to go ahead and subscribe, like, share, ding that notification bell, all the things, right? So you can stay in touch with us, we can stay in touch with you, and you can be up to date on more content just like this.